Given the seemingly renewed interest in tag team wrestling, I'm curious as to whom Jim's Mount Rushmore of tag teams would be.
See, that's the kind of thing that, because of my OCD especially, I would have to take 2 weeks off from all my other work and sit down and do research and compare notes and make graphs and charts and weigh decisions carefully and et cetera, because it's over a bullshit fucking what if question. But words have effects and consequences. Yes, the Midnight Express should be on there. Yes, the Road Warriors should be on. Yeah, the Rock and Roll Express should be on there. But so should Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel. And how can you not have Rocca and Perez, even though it was a gimmick team? It was the biggest drawn tag team in the history of their business, still to this day. How can you not have the Golden Grahams or the Fargos?
The Deucics.
The Dirty Deucics or the Von Brauners. Or how can you not... you can't really... You can kind of even have a Mount Rushmore of classic rock, right? You know, Beatles, Stones, Who, Zeppelin, whatever the fuck. There's too many tag teams. Is it a Mount Rushmore of this particular territory's wrestling? Or you can't do, but I mean, especially because some teams, in some cases, for the Midnight Express didn't draw what Rocca and Perez did at the gate, but the Midnight Express were the best in-ring tag team of their generation. Rocca and Perez were the shits in the ring, but it was Rocca and Perez. When Rocca's formula got old, then they threw in the young Puerto Rican kid to sell and get the shit kicked out of him, so all Rocca had to do was make the tag. Were they better than Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel? Obviously not, but it was a different presentation in a different place, and so it drew bigger. Stevens and Bockwinkel lasted forever, but were they better than Stevens and Patterson?
They had the best promotional photos of that era, but how big were the Kangaroos in actuality? The original version, Heffernan and Costello.
Well, they were really fucking huge in any territory. Because if you read the wrestling magazines, and they were referred to on sometimes on TV programs, even in territories they didn't come to, you know, they wrestle so-and-so, this team that we have here wrestled the fabulous Kangaroos in Madison Square Garden, because they kind of became the Kleenex, the brand name of tag teams in the late 50s, early 60s, because they traveled everywhere and they were specialists, as the Costello and Heffernan group. But they were better workers than the Von Brauners, but they probably weren't as easy to draw money with in hot situations as the Von Brauners. Grudge matches, because the Von Brauners had the Nazi thing going for them. And they lasted 15 years together in every territory. But then, I mean, think of how many great tag teams that they had in the ratings in the After magazines in the 70s and 80s. So... there were so many that, look, even by 86, the Crockett Cup, just the ones that Crockett was able to lay his hands on, there was 18 named teams out of that 24-team field. And that didn't count all the territories and anybody from New York.
How high do you rank Steamboat and Youngblood?
Well, they were fucking tremendous at their time, but they only teamed together for 2 years. So can you say that, you know, they were as good as anybody else in the ring, but not for as long, and they weren't as good at the box office because they didn't stay together as long as, you know, other great tag teams that main evented.
Okay, let's go on 2 years, though. Who do you think had a better 2 years, Steamboat and Youngblood or Tully and Arn?
Oh, boy. Well, Tully and Arn as heels and Steamboat and Youngblood as babyfaces. Tully and Arn were iconic, and I think as good as Steamboat and Youngblood were.
Wow.
You know... But also Tully and Arn were more well-rounded because they had the promos also. But then think about how long were Slater and Orton together?
They got together, 76 in Georgia? Around?
But they didn't work as solidly as a team exclusively for the next 7 years. They worked as a team sometimes when they were in the same territory together, and then they were fucking awesome. but they didn't travel as a team.
You put them together for the Night of Legends, or you brought them back to Knoxville. And by the way, there's a good example of Southeastern and All-Star coming together in that match.
Yes, yeah, there you go.
Did you intentionally, was that one of your goals? I want to get Slater and Orton in here?
Was Dick Slater and Bob Orton Jr. against Ronnie Garvin and the Mongolian Stomper? How much more Knoxville legendary could you be? And yes, and there's the team of Slater and Orton.
Did you think about doing any more with them in Smoky Mountain? Because the match was great. I was there live. That was a fantastic match.
Well,
live.
yeah, and Mac McMurray saw the last blind tag and killed the fucking hot tagger. It would have been a 5-star classic. But it was incredible. Probably until the referee botched the fucking seeing the wrong tag, it was probably work-wise all the way through psychologically the best match of the night. Because they all knew what the fuck they were doing. But no, because, I wasn't going to bring them back to make them a regular team, nor were they clamoring for me to do so. Both guys were retired at that point. They were making some shots. It was a special occasion. I wasn't going to, didn't have the money to invest and wasn't going to take the time to put them together, fly them in every week, do TV with them, put them on all the big shows.
Even solo. I'm not even necessarily saying as a tag team, but just the idea of bringing Dick Slater, in as a regular to a Knoxville territory. No thought of that at all?
Not with Slater, because he's kind of crazy, as you'll recall. With Orton, I would have, except I wanted to concentrate on the younger guys, and he wasn't really looking for another run. He was just having some fun.
Do you put the Assassins on your all-time tag team list? And the Andersons, I guess.
Well, and there's the Andersons. I never got to see, Jody was so large, let's put it that way, at the end of his run when everybody got to see him. He was never a svelte person, but he could really move in those days. And I only got to see Tom Renesto really when he was booking for Nick Goulas in the late 70s. And then it came and had a run in Tennessee real briefly in 85. So, but I've heard that they were fucking masterful, and especially at getting heat. There's some 8mm footage from City Auditorium in Atlanta that I've got DVD clips of where you see they were taking big bumps, but I've heard that they were fantastic. But being able to really see Ole and Gene were much more my cup of tea than the Assassins.
And you never got to see the Flying Redheads, right?
No, I saw Red Bastien a bit. Once again, toward the end of, I say the end of his career, but right before he retired, and everybody said he was probably one of the best working baby faces and certainly one of the best high flyers anywhere. And, and you could tell that even when he was older, but there's not a lot of footage of them either that at least that I've been able to come across.